Want to play a game? If I win, you have to listen to whatever I say. And if you win, then I have to do whatever you want me to.
In episode 4 of JockTunes, we'll take you on a journey exploring music in video games. The wonderful soundtracks that play during our gaming sessions may just be in background, but it's about time they're finally placed in the spotlight. From the basic beep boops of Mario, all the way to the wonderful compositions in games like Genshin. Music in video games has definitely transformed and grown. So stick around and immerse yourself in the world of music and video games. You're listening to 8-Bit Radio by Magnus and Wendy, giving you the best of music. This is
JockTunes Season 3.
What is up, you guys? My name is Magnus.
And I'm Wendy.
And we're from the UPLB Jocks, the premier media-based organization here in UP Los Baños.
Welcome back to the 4th episode of JockTunes Season 3, 8-Bit Radio. You know, Magnus, it's been a while since I played an 8-bit game, much less listened to an 8-bit track. But hey, that's what this show is all about. The games we love, loved, and can't stop loving. And of course, the tracks that make them great.
Considering the evolution of video game music, it's crazy to think how far games have come. I mean, everything started with Pong, a simple game that barely resembled table tennis, and now we have games like The Witcher 3 and Far Cry 6, two story-driven open-world action-adventure games that stump Pong graphics and gameplay-wise.
You know, actually, Pong isn't even the first actual video game. The first video game was similar to it in terms of mechanics, but it was made in 1958, 14 years before Pong was even officially released.
Wait, are you saying that Pong was faking it this whole time? That's kind of sussy, Wendy. I guess you could say that Pong was a bit of an impongster.
Well, considering there wasn't much that you could do with the technology at the time, there weren't more dupes like that among us, or rather them. But, you know, that's what's really interesting is that for a lot of the people in that generation, games like Tetris and Pong were games that they could confidently say were their favorites. But what about you, though? What are your faves?
Oh, my favorites. Well, ako kasi, I've been playing video games ever since I was young. Like, my dad got me a Game Boy when I was 7, I think. And I've been playing games ever since. So, ayun. I remember secretly playing Donkey Kong pa, pati Pokemon Ruby on the Game Boy after school, even when I wasn't supposed to. Pero, ayun, I didn't answer your question. So to answer your question, my favorites would have to be Team Fortress 2 for nostalgia and The Witcher 3 in terms of gameplay and story. Team Fortress 2 is a free-to-play game I used to play with my friends a lot back in the day. It featured a bunch of classes that I really liked. And there was this one class, it was called the Heavy. He was this huge guy with a love for sandwiches, and his main weapon was a minigun. So, as a bigger kid, he really appealed to me when I was younger. For Witcher 3 naman, it was my first introduction to a AAA RPG, and none of the other RPGs I've played have surpassed its story ever since. So, like, it's really that good. How about you, Wendy?
Well, currently my favorite games are Valorant and Stardew Valley, but honestly, the Mario franchise will always have a special place in my heart. Even though I really, can't finish Super Mario Odyssey because of that one bit on the moon. Like, I'm not even sure if that's the last level. Like, so it's a compilation basically of all the skills that you're supposed to have learned, leading up to that maybe final moment. I'm not sure. I haven't finished it. Hopefully that's it.
Hopefully you find out soon.
Hopefully that's it. But I wasn't able to. So we'll see. Maybe.
Well, the sem just ended, I guess. So you might have some extra time now.
I hope. Pero hiniram ko lang yung Switch ng kaibigan ko. So,
well,
sad to say, I can't try right now.
Pwede mo naman hiramin ulit secretly,
Secretly,
hindi na lang siya babalik.
Sa bansa.
Oh.
Balikbayan box.
Oo. Balikbayan box and Switch lang yung laman. Okay.
Ayun, yun lang. Pero have you heard though, grabe yung sa Valorant ha.
Which one?
They released a Filipino agent, si
Oh
Neo.
yeah. I think
Have you
I
heard?
I know that she's fast. I forgot what her name was, pero yeah,
Yun, yun.
that was very interesting. Like, I didn't know. I just found out sa mga shared post ng friends ko na naglalaro. One of our resident jocks actually, Miss
Oh,
Miss
wow.
Willow.
Willer. Willer.
Okay. Pero
Yeah,
ayun.
but ayun, it's just so cool din sa Valorant specifically
Mm.
kasi they, ano ba? So they released a Filipino agent
Yeah.
and then they used a Filipina artist. She's a Filipino-Australian.
Mm.
Pero grabe talaga because she also, I think she signed with 88 Rising right now. And it's a really
Oh.
good company for,
Yeah.
Asian artists. So that's
Yeah.
really great na grabe yung representation
Yeah.
and yung diversity na yun. Ang ganda.
How far we've come as a nation. Ika nga.
Yeah.
Okay, so ayun. Wait, you said you like Super Mario Odyssey, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yung
did
ito
you
kapalikbayan box natin.
yeah. Did you have anything like did the soundtrack do anything for you or ano?
Ano, wala. For memes lang. Siyempre, yung maalala mo yung turtle talaga.
Yeah. Kasi ano, when I remember then kasi Mario was one of the first games I played on my Game Boy. Tas I remember na I couldn't get past the first level because like I was young and I didn't understand how the game worked. So every time I die, I'd hear the ta 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 ta. But and like for a child, it's very very annoying since like I had nothing else to do. So I heard it so many times. It kind of drove me nuts down. And
Yeah, relatable. Like, kaya nga parang ano although kay Mario, naalala mo talaga yung siya as, the
yeah,
character, the red hat and everything.
yeah.
Pero for some reason, yung naalala ko talaga yung turtle. Kasi yun yung nagba-bounce back kapag natamaan mo na,
Oh
di
yeah,
ba? Tapos
yeah.
baka mamatay ka.
I,
Ngayon, it's just really nice din naman, di ba? Na, may tanong lang ako though, na-traumatized ka ba doon? Or okay ka lang naman as a child
I
from that
think
stuff?
I think there have been more traumatizing things that happened to me. So it wasn't
Oh
it
no.
wasn't it wasn't that much of a big deal. So ayun na. Ayun na. Yeah, I'm fine. I
Sana
think.
naman, okay ka lang, Magnus.
I hope so too, Wendy.
Ano
Okay.
yun? Wala.
Yeah.
It's just, 'di ba, with
Mm.
the sound, may na ano ka talaga sa sound cues Yung
Yeah.
paborito ko, it's not video game music, pero sa Valorant, it's brr, basta yung bratat, Odin go brr.
Oh,
Brr.
okay. Yeah.
Yan yung paborito ko.
Kasi
Eh,
sound design
yeah.
really is important in games like those. Kasi like I also play Counter-Strike, Global Offensive, and like the guns really like sometimes I'd use the guns because they sound cool. I mean parang ganun. There's this one gun that has the silencer. Because when you take it off, it sounds so different. So sometimes me and my friends would take them off on purpose, even though it doesn't really do anything. It actually makes
Ano
the gun
yun?
worse.
Pangpanakot?
Yeah, that's what we do. We take all of the silencers off and then rush one bomb site, and then like the terrorists wouldn't expect us. I mean, they would because they would hear the guns, but like
Yeah.
they
Pero
wouldn't
kabado
know what
na,
to do.
diba?
Yeah. Ayun.
So
Crazy.
yun, it's just cool, no?
Yeah.
Pero it really says a lot though about how video games, especially like, sound effects pa lang. From sound effects, nagkaroon tayo ng music, and that's really cool.
Yeah.
And even then, they didn't even have background music. It's really weird to think about, diba? So
Yeah.
right now, we have all these sound effects na pangpanakot natin sa mga
Tama.
gun games natin.
Rush B pa
Even
kayo,
music.
Yeah.
Grabe, Riot, wow. Ayun. So we even have our own music. And then, just to think na all of that, medyo silent lang. Konting ping-pong effects lang, like yung sa pong, di ba?
Yeah. That's it.
So back then, they didn't even have background music, and that's really interesting. Kasi the first time, someone ever even attempted video game music was sa Space Invaders, and
Yeah.
it was just, continuous, repetitive, simple. I
Mm.
think it mirrored something like a Nokia games, but space
Yeah.
something din siya. Hindi ko
Yeah, I
maalala.
I think I remember playing that on my mom's phone. Tas
Mm,
ayun, I remember dying
'di ba?
dying there as
Very,
well.
very
So
wala ka namang ibang ginawa tapos dying
maybe
in a game.
foreshadowing. Charot. Ayun.
But
Uh,
ayun, so 'di ba, it's just very simple. Medyo
mm,
nakakainis.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Pero I
Pero
think
it's an attempt.
it did its job naman. So I guess that had to be the standard before, like the bare minimum.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We
Pero
had to start somewhere.
yeah. Pero ano, you know, seeing the current landscape of video game music now is like it's very very different. Like it's really great because like come to think of it, how did we go from to
Dun, 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 dun. Well, to know that, we have to go back to where it all started, 8-bit
Mm,
music.
yeah. So Wendy, what is
Mm.
8-bit music?
Well, 8-bit music is, basically it's synthesized electronic music made using synthesizers or sound chips in old video game consoles. Earlier memory couldn't handle too much content, so the 8-bit sounds were, a cheap and practical solution to the memory limits of hardware.
Oh, akala ko tinatamad sila kaya ganun.
Grabe. Sama ng ugali.
Joke lang, joke lang. Syempre, and they put work into it naman. So, very appreciated. Pero
Hmm.
ayun. They had to come so ayun. Sorry. So, seeing as that is what happened, like they had to come up with new technology pa na to improve. Kasi like
Hmm.
ayun nga, they were limited by technology of that time. Pero like, didn't they have CDs that they could have used instead?
Yeah, well, CDs did exist, but a lot of the consoles and arcades were still cartridge based, and at the
Mm.
time naman, hindi sila tamad. At the time lang, mahal pa. It's just too
Oh,
expensive to manufacture on CDs.
tas considering now na like CDs you can get very cheap. Pero yeah,
Hindi
it
ko na
would
nga
make
alam kung saan
sense.
makabili ng CD.
CDR King. May ganun pa ba?
Buhay pa sila?
Hindi ko alam.
Okay.
pero,
Tahimik-tahimik, mamaya tayo.
sorry. Oo nga, no? Oh, no!
Hindi ko alam, hindi ko alam. Hindi. Joke lang yun, joke lang yun.
I can edit this out. I'm so
Free
sorry.
marketing, free
Free marketing,
marketing.
free mark.
Malay natin bumalik sila.
Oh, sponsor? Hindi.
Sponsor
No.
us.
Okay. So, yeah, it would make sense nga if they had to resort to 8-bit music for games in the past kasi consider yan, kasi they were limited by technology. Pero though,
Mm.
considering the games we currently have, I think it's safe to say that they really changed things up when it came to making video game music now. Yeah?
Yeah. Definitely. Looking at where we are now versus how we started, it's really interesting to see how video game music evolved because the types of music that they use changed exactly simply because, of better technology. So they had better options and more approaches that they could take.
Yes. The wonders of technology. Ika nga. Pero like, how did this all start?
Well, the origin of video game sound, it came from a band called Yellow Magic Orchestra actually, and
Mm.
these were electronic musicians that just decided,
Mm.
hey, I am so sad of tired
Yeah.
melodramatic sounding electro music, and said, "Yeah, you know what, electronic music should be happy. Maybe we should make it progressive and just motivational."
Oh, I commend them because the way things were looking before them didn't seem so nice, ano? Pero like, yeah, it's a huge level up compared to the repetitive Space Invaders theme. Like, hearing that
Mm,
for hours on end would probably drive anyone insane.
yeah.
Props to Yellow Magic Orchestra, though, because like their influence must have been great since a lot of the 8-bit music of that era had similar vibes, right?
Yeah. And honestly, it was just super innovative because, earlier tech meant that they could only play three notes simultaneously.
Mm.
So a lot of the early video game music took inspiration from them. and their simple electronic style, as well as, jazz's simple but unpredictably catchy and upbeat style.
God bless Yellow Magic Orchestra.
True, true.
Pero, yeah, I feel for the composers though. Like, must have been really challenging to make songs that weren't just catchy but also simple enough for their technology to replicate in a game.
Yeah. Well, at least, eventually it got easier. And that's,
Ah,
what you brought up earlier.
kasi CDs, hindi na sila tinatamad.
Are not
Ah,
Magnus invalidating?
no. Pero yeah, CDs became more
Yeah.
prevalent naman eventually, diba?
Yeah. CDs got, technology got better, gaming
Mm.
became more accessible, and well, the industry started getting composers who had different ideas for video game music. So from, happy, occasionally jazzy 8-bit style that we know and love, we started getting electro house and J-rock and metal and eventually pop music featured in our games.
Oh yeah, this I definitely noticed. Like comparing that original 8-bit Super Mario theme to music from modern games, like the difference is drastic and it isn't
Yeah.
even remotely fair.
Do you have any games in mind?
Well, yeah, pero like it isn't super modern. Ayun, I mentioned a while ago na. Did I mention a while ago?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. Okay, sorry.
I think so, yeah.
Very Magnus moment. Ayun, I mentioned a while ago na I played Team Fortress 2 when I was younger. Like, ayun. What's special about it for me kasi is that aside from the nostalgia, it's one of the few games that had a soundtrack I would actively listen to even if I wasn't playing the game. Like it was very distinct from other game soundtracks because it took cues from other popular music genres like jazz and rock. Like there is this one track, it's called Rocket Jump Waltz, and I really like the way it sounded because I've locked in over 1,250 hours on the game. And every time it would play, like I would finish it before actually finding a game. Like to say it plays when you start the game, a song from their track plays, and ayun, sometimes it played. So yeah, I'd finish it. I don't know why I explained that. It's a pretty simple thing, pero ayun.
Gusto mo talaga yung song na yun, no?
Yeah, it's very catchy.
Grabe, the 1K plus hours?
I had no I mean, that was my childhood. Ayun. It was very fun.
Yeah. I feel you though. Like even though that sound, gives intense flashbacks of all the soldier memes,
Yeah.
no one can, argue that it's one of the Team Fortress 2's best staple songs.
Truly. Like, interestingly enough though, this song got some recent exposure. Like, it was attributed kasi to this character whose voice actor, Rick May, kasi he recently passed away. So the character, ayun nga, you mentioned Soldier. That's the guy. That's the character he voiced. Ayun, he passed away. So this was quite sad. The community though, they used the song to make videos featuring the voice actor's character as a form of tribute. And I personally found it quite touching since it was a way of paying respect to a man who voiced such an iconic character.
Yeah, that's the thing that's really beautiful about video game music. Like they take us to places that we never expected to be. Who would have thought that in your 1,000 plus hours of playing the game for a menu theme like Rocket Jump Waltz would, take you from the days of playing with your friends to celebrating everything that made, Rick May's Soldier so great.
Mm.
And, the Soldier reminds me of another energetic and memeable red team character with a similar nostalgia factor.
Si Sonic!
I mean, Grav! Sonic Red.
Yeah. Yung shoes niya.
Red ba? Ay, oo
yung...
nga. Red yun.
Okay.
Yeah, pero yun. My hat. My hat.
Ah,
Additional, for you.
Okay. Alam ko na.
My hat.
Sige.
So, ayun. So, like for, Mario, ito
Mm.
na, hindi na secret Magnus si Mario. So,
Okay.
like take New Donk City from Super Mario Odyssey. Grabe, makaget over. It maintains, Mario's vibe of being upbeat and bouncy, and you still hear familiar tunes,
Yeah.
but it's so great, and at the same time, it makes you feel like, you're in, New York City in a big, jazzy, Big Apple city.
Yeah, yeah.
And honestly, aside from that, it's really just a bop. I would have gone around that course of the game for so
Mm,
many times.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. Like personally, there's this one song from Skyrim. It's called Dragonborn. I played Skyrim religiously when I was like 13 years old. Pero like the game was already out for a couple of years now. Pero the song was used in the trailer for Skyrim, which I watched a couple of times because it was YouTube was in its primitive state. Well, one fairly primitive state during those times. This it would always come up with in my recommended. So ayun, every time I would click it, and the song really just it was so good. Like it really made me feel like I was the Dragonborn every time I listened to it. Thus, Skyrim was considered one of the most immersive games out there during that time. Thus, the music really helped a lot because like the ambient tracks that would play, they would just set the tone as you wandered around Skyrim.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can definitely get on board with that. Background music plays a big role in, world and character building. Like in Breath of the Wild, for example, Link is the silent protagonist trope. And, these heroes, they don't talk much, but, that's also that you can feel their pain, feel their feelings, and, BGM just helps put you in that mood and mindset. And the best part is that you don't even realize just how immersed you are in the background music and how it makes you feel until maybe, just maybe, Magnus, you're
Mm.
already crying.
Oh, crying's not a problem. So, ayun. Pero I've never really thought about it that way kasi like I knew that Link didn't really have much dialogue, but the way his emotions are conveyed through video game music is quite interesting. Like it's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a really wild concept, no? Like the way that video game music just has to work perfectly in tandem with their a good story and their good design to fully immerse all of the senses.
Yeah, very very well said, Ben. That's another thing I like with video game music is the way they're used to distinguish settings in video games. Like in a lot of games, they're excuse me. Oh, excuse me. Ano? Sorry. Okay, like in a lot of games, there are a variety of locations to explore, and one of the ways in which these settings are made distinct from one another is through their music. Like take Pokemon for an example. Like ayun nga, I mentioned that I played Pokemon Ruby when I was a child, pero yeah, you would know which town you're in because each town has a specific theme that goes along with the setting. Like Lavender Town is a good example since it's a town built near a cemetery, and the track that plays when you're in it is very spooky.
Oh yeah, I heard about that and some of the I'm not sure, but I think there were some creepy pasta
Oh
theories
yeah,
about that.
yeah,
But
yeah.
it's because of those things that I avoid playing horror games
Mm,
and stick to any other game genre.
y-
Zombies are fine as long as I
mm,
can gun them down.
yeah, yeah.
But
Understandable.
imagine I play Stardew Valley and the game is cute, it's simple, the
Mm,
soundtrack changes depending on the season,
mm,
and I just go around and try to hit up all of the all of its tenants
yeah.
before nighttime hits. But then you're going home,
Mm-hmm.
it's night, and then there's suddenly wild animals in the background, and you're rushing to get home in time. But then you hear every it just helps you rush back
Yeah, yeah.
because you hear everything.
Mm.
And it's just a cute farming game, but the background music for that it still freaks me out.
Well, I guess you're really just sucked into the world, no?
Eh.
Or you're just really scared. Pero, ayun, video game music really has the capacity to make its players feel like they're in a different world. In a different world. Yeah, like this reminds me of the time when I played Cyberpunk last year. Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah, yeah. Keanu Pump 2020, I think. Grabe, last year, last 2 years.
I last oh,
Yeah, it's a new year na.
Happy New Year, Wendy.
Happy New Year, Magnus. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Welcome
Oh,
back.
welcome back.
So, ayun, was it the bug-ridden nightmare that the memes made it out to be?
Well, I played it on PC naman, so I didn't run into that many issues. Pero ayun, the game's set in the future, so one of the ways in which it establishes the setting is through its music. The radios in this game frequently blast songs that are played by fictional bands from the game's lore. And aside from the music in the game, there would be more ambient tracks that would play depending on what you were doing. Another game that does this is Far Cry 6, because like if you were in combat, intense music would play, like fitting for a gunfight. Where like if you were in stealth, a less subtle track would play. So you could imagine like the transition from stealth music to combat music, like the overall tension of the situation would increase significantly. Yeah. So ayun. Overall, like it makes gameplay more engaging.
Yeah, and honestly, it's not just gameplay.
What makes you say that?
Well, a lot of video game music is actually really great study, workout, and task music
Mm.
because of, a throwback to Hello Yellow Magic Orchestra,
Oh,
of how it's made to be motivational.
yeah, yeah.
So there's also the aspect of the fact that it's meant to be played looped and in the background.
Mm-mm.
So it's really a great double whammy in boosting your focus, both in game and in real life.
Yeah.
So these composers really knew what they were doing.
Yeah, I guess that explains why. I mean, yeah, I guess that explains why I get so pumped up whenever I play Dragonborn on loop whenever I work out. So like it is like a great song, as I've mentioned. It makes you feel like the
Yeah.
Dragonborn. So ayun.
Helps you with your games, Magnus.
Oh, definitely.
But, it's really nice to point it out, though. It's not just the muscles that would help, that BGM would help you work out. It also helps you flex those brain gains.
Oh.
Because, yeah, brain games, Magnus.
I didn't know those
Because
were.
they've actually, they've used them in music therapy.
Mm.
Because it's an easy way for people to improve their musical listening skills, and it can help people with neurological damage that affects rhythmic skill. So
Mm.
it's a cheaper and better, I would say, maybe possibly like alternative to music lessons and a music teacher.
Yeah, it kind
They call it neurologic music therapy.
neurologic music therapy. That kind of reminds me of this game my friend plays. It's a rhythm game called Osu. It's funny to think that I'd ask him to play random meme songs, not knowing that the game had practical applications such as neurological music therapy.
No worries, no worries. I also just learned that word.
No.
And I would expect that from you naman.
Oh, I thought you were friends, Wendy.
I thought so too. Pero 2 taon na and you've never let me play a game with you.
Well,
So, speaking of your friends, Magnus, what games do you guys play?
ayun. We used to play. This is like the third comeback of Team Fortress 2. Pero like we played it a lot when we were younger. Pero now we usually play at CS:GO, which I also mentioned earlier.
Have you tried playing FIFA?
That's the soccer one. Yeah.
Magnus.
Why?
Well, technically it's football.
What do you mean?
Come on,
Football's
it's
the one with
FIFA.
the
Where's the S in FIFA?
somewhere there.
Silent.
Silent.
It's a silent S.
It's a silent S and it's really small, so you can't see it.
But ayun. So, okay, so it's football.
Okay, okay.
But
Sige.
ayun. Well, in FIFA kasi, the game actively chooses songs that will connect football fans across the world. So they believe that football should connect everyone. And it works because their sounds are so good and on point that they actually make it into our culture.
Yeah, this reminds me of 2K kasi my friends and I played NBA 2K before. Like I forgot which one, pero we'd get surprised every time the game played a familiar track. So like each rendition of 2K of NBA 2K, like there's a collection of songs from popular culture that they use whenever you're in the menu and ayun. I specifically remember hearing DJ Khaled's 365 in NBA 2K16. ayun, every time we'd hear the song, we'd all shout DJ Khaled in sync with the song, like it was a meme. Like, ayun. I think DJ Khaled has been the subject of, I mean, ano? Ayun, DJ Khaled. Pero, ayun, speaking of memes, I've been seeing a lot of video game music pop up randomly on my feed. Like, every time I browse through Facebook or TikTok, like, or even YouTube, uh, I get recommended different videos which are, I don't know. Every time I every time I'd browse through Facebook or TikTok, even YouTube, like sometimes I'd see Sans on my screen and I'd be like, why are you here again? Like they would just come up. I don't know why.
Yeah. Oh, gets ko yan. Because like even I cannot seem to escape all of those meme compilations of
Yeah,
the Wii theme.
yeah.
I think they're just stalking me. Alam ng Facebook algorithm yung gusto ko,
Well,
and it's getting I think it's seeing kids get hit with a door frame or a swinging door or
yeah.
I don't know, or a ball, and it's just the Wii theme playing over and over. And it's really you know, I acknowledge that it's unfortunate, but at least they didn't get hit as much as it took to play the entire Wii theme. It was just once, so that's
Yeah.
fine.
Just as long as they're okay. Pero ayun,
They're fine.
yeah, emphasis on think. Pero ayun, I think the same thing happens with Minecraft music. Like, yun nga, I'd be scrolling TikTok and I'd suddenly hear C418 Sweden playing in the background of a video. It's such a calming and nostalgic track, though. So I understand why it's popular. This recently, since the SEM just ended, like my friends and I have been playing Minecraft again. So
Oh,
ayun.
catch up na kayo.
Yeah, ano. Ayun, like it really reminded me of my childhood. Kasi before I only had fake Minecraft. So I
Fake
would play,
Minecraft?
yeah, I would play alone kasi you couldn't. I mean, you could play on other servers, pero like it would be very laggy and like ew, fake Minecraft. Pero ayun, like hearing the song, this time with my friends around, like it was really really nostalgic and it was very touching in a way. Like ayun, it was like I had another chance at childhood, which I never
Ay,
had. Oh,
that's so nice.
oh,
Oh, I'm happy
ayun.
for you, Magnus. Oh,
Thank
diba?
you. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, pero yun, that's nice, no?
Mm-mm.
Games
Really is.
talaga reconnect people, and even video game music is just so much more than what meets the eye.
Yeah.
Like you.
Aww.
Aw.
Wait, what did you say? More than meets the eye?
Take it as it is, Magnus.
Transformer ka, Gord.
Ayun.
Pero, yeah.
Quite
Gets
actually,
naman.
pero
Yeah,
follow
gets
up.
naman. Like, on the surface, one can, like, perceive video game music as mere background music in a game. Pero, like, in actuality, much like video games, it has changed our culture and lives for the better.
Art imitates life after all, and honestly, in video game music, especially, the great ones, there is both art and life.
I couldn't have said it any better myself, Wendy. Video game music really deserves more recognition and appreciation.
And given everything that we've talked about, there is a crazy amount of things that are worth appreciating.
Yeah, I think so too. So I guess I'd say that concludes this episode of JockTunes Season 3.
Which wouldn't have been possible without our sponsors.
You ready?
Boya, 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 no. I know you get the feels. Boya, 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 no. I'm so curious, but
Your favorite jocks are back bringing you all the feels with more content.
frozen I get so shy, it's obvious.
Here in the UPLB Jocks, we do it orally. From hosting, podcasts, playlists, and even TikToks. You name it, and we got you covered.
Wow.
Indulge in Gen Z culture with JockTunes Season 2 and be on the lookout for maybe another season.
You have stolen my heart, oh yeah.
True bestie, so make sure to tune in on our socials at the UPLB Jocks.
On Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, YouTube, and TikTok for more updates.
Thank
you,
you.
sponsors. Thank you,
Yeah.
CDRK.
Anyways, don't forget to check out our previous episodes and to stay tuned for more by following us on our social media accounts.
That's at the UPLB Jocks on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, and TikTok.
Once again, this has been 8-Bit Radio with Magnus and Wendy.
Giving you the best of music, this is the UPLB Jocks.
JockTunes Season 3 8-Bit Radio is directed by Alex Peña and Bianca Mendiola. Written and hosted by Gian Peña Flor and Paul Del Rosario. Edited by Kayla Concepcion, Isaac Riamon, and Sedi Villanueva. Copywritten by Dietrich Liwanag. Voiced over by Alex Peña and Lorenzo Ocampo.